This is a video designed to help you write your unknown object paper. The goal of this paper is for you to apply your visual analysis skills to an object for which we don't know the artistic identity, subject matter, time period, or style. You're going to identify the stylistic period of this artwork just using visual analysis. The paper is 450 to 500 words. You'll submit it as a Word document, and you don't need to do any research whatsoever to complete this paper. The final paper is worth 20% of your grade. There are 4 stages of this assignment, and we're going to go through each part of that process in this video. Your first step is to choose an object. Within the unknown object module, I have a page with a list of the objects that you can choose from. I recommend that you pick one that feels the most interesting or engaging for you because you're going to spend a lot of time looking at it. Also, all of these objects are selected from periods that we will have studied in the weeks leading up to the rough draft. So you might look at what those different stylistic periods are, and if there's one that you feel a greater affinity to, you might try and choose an object that would align with that period. The next step is to do a visual analysis of your chosen object. So you should plan to spend an uncomfortable amount of time looking at your object. I would plan for at least 30 minutes. You don't have to do it all at once, but perhaps set a timer just so that you know that you are really engaging with it. Take notes, write down anything at all that you think is interesting about the object. You might want to sketch it. If you're feeling just like you're drawing a blank, just describe what you see. But the more notes you take, the more material you will have when it's time to write. So look at those notes. Are there any formal elements or stylistic strategies that you return to over and over again? How do these stylistic strategies relate to the different artworks that we've studied this semester? Does it align with a particular strategy or a particular stylistic period? That's how you identify the artwork, by linking these styles to a particular period. So for example, I have uploaded in the module a sample paper that discusses this work of art that you're looking at here. Now this is an Egyptian stele, which you probably would have been able to guess before even taking the class. However, the thesis here, you're not going to get full credit simply by identifying it. Rather, it's about your ability to recognize the particular strategies that make it Egyptian. So for here, the sample paper that I gave you, the student wrote about the use of registers, the hierarchy of scale, and the canon of proportion that appears within the stele. Those were the things that helped the student to identify this as an Egyptian artwork. So those 3 strategies, that's the thesis. So right here in this example, I have an example of the thesis statement. So here the thesis is the registers, hierarchy of scale, and the canon of proportions identify the stele as an Egyptian object. The first paragraph is going to describe the appearance of the areas of the object that have those major stylistic strategies. So here, if you notice, the student describes very explicitly that the artist divides the stele into 2 parts with a table of food at the center marking this division. And then on the left side, there are 9 figures arranged in 2 horizontal rows. So that's a description of the registers. And I think it's important that the student is very specific. It's almost as if you were only reading this and you had to draw what it looked like. You had to draw it only based on what the description was. That's the type of analysis that you need in this paper. The next paragraph is going to take those formal elements and link them to specific stylistic strategies that are Egyptian. So here, the topic sentence says, these formal elements demonstrate the use of registers, a canon of proportions, and hierarchy of scale, which are common in 2-dimensional Egyptian art. So notice the student defines what a register is and then describes exactly where it appears within the artwork. So it might feel like you're being way too obvious, but you need to actually describe what it is that's leading you to this conclusion. In the rough draft, You should also have a comparative paragraph, so you will compare this unknown object with a similar artwork from our course content. And all of the options for the unknown, all of them link to specific artworks that we will be discussing in class. I will give you feedback on your rough drafts, and all of the feedback that I'm giving you is designed to help you get a higher grade on the final draft. The rough draft counts towards your participation grade. The final draft is worth considerably more. It's worth 20% of the grade, and so it's worth doing a good job so that you can really shore up the kind of grade that you want to earn. So that final copy, take my feedback to heart. It's probably going to need significant revision from your rough draft. If you don't change very much in your rough draft, you're going to get the same grade that you got in your rough draft. You also must submit this final copy on time. I will not accept papers that are more than 3 days late, and they lose 5 points per day. The grading follows a rubric that's divided into 4 parts. The first part is the thesis. I'm looking for you to connect the artwork to a specific stylistic period that we studied within our coursework and include specific stylistic strategies that support that conclusion. In stylistic analysis, I'm looking for close, specific descriptions of the artwork. You can't just say that it's beautiful or organized or anguished or whatever. You need to describe the exact features that lead you to this conclusion. Organization will be determined by the way you follow the guidelines described within the instructions. I'm very specific in the instructions about what each paragraph should do. Finally, the presentation is based on the grammatical production of your paper. It should have minimal or no grammatical or spelling errors, and an A will exhibit eloquence. Often students struggle to earn that A because of passive voice. This is an example of passive voice. So here, the figures are faced towards the left. The passive construction here is the verb to face is then modified with to be. This is kind of overly wordy. Rather, you should just use the strong verb face, right? The figures face left. If you need help, send me a thesis idea, schedule a phone call or a Zoom with me, send me an outline, send me a sample paragraph. I'm very happy to work with you so that you can get the grade that you want on this major writing assignment.